Hello and welcome to Deep Dive on NewsX World. I'm Asuma Katauka. We turn to the UK, where a single criminal case has ignited a much bigger national debate about immigration, crime, politics and social cohesion. At the center of this storm is a Pakistani asylum seeker, unmasked by a Reform UK MP, now convicted of raping a vulnerable teenage girl in a public park. The case has fueled outrage, including right-wing outrage, mass protests, and has intensified an already fractured immigration discourse. But what do the facts say, and what is politics making of them? Let's start with the case itself. Shiraz Malik, a 28-year-old Pakistani national and asylum seeker, was found guilty at Birmingham Crown Court of 2 counts of rape. The victim, described in a court as a vulnerable teenager, was attacked in a park in Sutton, in Ashfield, Nottinghamshire. Court testimony revealed that Malik and an accomplice took turns raping her after leading her to a secluded area. At one point, the victim texted a friend, quote, "Please help me." The jury deliberated for just hours before returning a guilty verdict. What turned this from a criminal trial into a national firestorm was not just the crime, but what the public was not allowed to know. A judge imposed a reporting restriction preventing the press from disclosing Malik's immigration status until the trial ended, citing the risk of prejudicing the jury. Hence entered the Reform UK MP Lee Anderson. Anderson publicly identified Malik as an asylum seeker, defying police requests and risking contempt of court. His posts went viral. Protests followed and the trial had to be moved from Birmingham due to security concerns. Anderson called the defendant a vile creature and said the public deserved the truth. Right-wing leaders quickly seized on the case. Nigel Farage, Reform UK figures, and several conservative commentators argued this was proof that the asylum system is broken. Their claims follow a familiar pattern: that mass immigration undermines public safety, that courts and police protect offenders over victims, and that cultural differences pose a risk to women and girls. The rhetoric has been fiery, and it has consequences. Anti-immigrant protests have erupted outside asylum hotels, racist attacks are at record level high in some parts of the UK, and communities are feeling the strain. But this brings us to a crucial question. Are asylum seekers really more likely to commit violent crime in the UK? The answer, according to most experts, is it's complicated. Available figures from the UK government and Office for National Statistics give a rough indication of trends. Young adults are more likely to commit crimes regardless of nationality, and non-citizens in the UK are disproportionately young. Without adjusting for age, the share of non-citizens receiving convictions in 2024, which stands at 13%, or in prison, which stands at 12.4% in England and Wales, appears roughly similar to their share of the age of 16-plus population, estimated at around 12%. When we look into age and sex, non-citizens are actually underrepresented in the prison population. And statistically, most violent and sexual crimes in the UK are committed by white British men, simply because they make up the majority of the population. Experts warn that high-profile cases, however horrific, can distort public perception. Media coverage, political implication, and social media outrage create a sense of crisis, even when overall crime trends do not support it. But that does not mean public fears are invented. The UK is experiencing real pressures. In the year to mid-2024, the UK saw its second largest population increase in 75 years. The population grew by more than 750,000 people, and net migration accounted for 98% of that growth. Housing, healthcare, schools, and local services are strained, communities feel change fast and uneven. This is where right-wing anti-immigrant sentiment finds fertile ground. The core drivers are consistent. Those include fear of culture change, economic insecurity, pressure on public services, and a loss of trust in political elites. Right-wing populist leaders frame immigration as the symbol of everything that feels out of control. Crime becomes a weapon, individual cases become collective blame. The consequences are visible. The UK has seen a sharp rise in racist attacks, hate crimes, and also communal tension. Migrants and British citizens from minority backgrounds report feeling less safe. Women's rights groups warn that violence against women is being weaponized for political ends without addressing the root causes of sexual violence, which exists across all communities. So where does this leave Britain? The crime was real. The pain is real. The failure of systems, immigration, policing, and politics is also real. But when justice for victims becomes a tool for division, the country risks losing sight of solutions. The challenge for the UK is this: how to enforce the law, protect women, and maintain public trust without turning fear into hatred and policy into permanent conflict. Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Peter Baum. He's an editor at Weekly Blitz, joins us live from London. Thank you very much, Mr. Baum, for joining us. Good to see you.
Pleasure. Good day to you.
Thank you. Now, looking at this case involving Shiraz Malik has sparked protests, social media outrage, and national debate. What has been the reaction on the ground in local communities?
Well, this is just one case which has yet again highlighted the problem that the United Kingdom have had with integrating asylum seekers from a certain community and from a certain part of the world. The Member of Parliament who put his head above the parapet and highlighted and exposed this particular case and frankly the horrific story surrounding this case is part of a small but very vociferous right-wing, I would say centre-right-wing party, whose popularity is growing because they, more than any other party, have highlighted the problems that the United Kingdom are facing with crimes, especially rape crimes, perpetrated by illegal immigrants. The silent majority, who for decades have been blissfully unaware of what we call the grooming gangs in the UK, have started to understand that their communities are threatened. And this is a very important subject which will certainly probably be the main issue facing the United Kingdom in the upcoming local elections, let alone the general election, which is some 3 years away. So naturally, the populist party, the Reform Party, which is riding high in the polls, is leveraging up on this. Of that, there's no doubt. Having said that, it has been an absolute scandal within UK society that such organised rapes committed by grooming gangs from the Pakistani community have for decades been ignored by the media, the police, the judiciary, and local and government legislators. So it is an important issue, and because the immigrant community is growing in the UK, the illegal immigrant community, I must say, I'm sure you're aware of the boatloads of people coming in from France illegally. Local communities feel under threat, Now, I would add one other thing to this. If the UK were experiencing economic positivity, I would guess that this would not be such an issue. But because the UK are experiencing dire economic conditions, unemployment high, job vacancies on a downward trajectory, inflation relatively high, and a public welfare bill that has gone completely out of control, then clearly a case like this profile will serve as an issue for politicians to leverage up on.
Now, given that the UK does not track crime by immigration or asylum status, how can policymakers and the media responsibly report on cases involving migrants without inflaming public fears or perpetuating stereotypes?
Well, it's interesting. You're absolutely correct in saying that as a matter of course, crimes committed by certain ethnic groups are not readily available. However, by the Freedom of Information Act, such information is available, and one can see from various communities, Somali community, Pakistani community, etc., the kinds of crimes being committed. So it's not an absolute truth to say that the information is not available. And when it does become, and when it is made available by the populist parties, then it's quite staggering the type of crime, which types of crime are perpetrated by certain ethnic communities and groups within the UK society. For example, child rape amongst certain ethnic groups is very, very high as a percentage amongst other ethnic groups. Burglaries, intermarriage within the family. So all kinds of statistical data is available, but one has to ask for a freedom of information request, which is quite hard to obtain. And you're quite right in saying that the government does not make such statistical data readily available to the public.
With that, I would like to thank Mr. Baum for joining us and sharing that deep insight with us. Thank you very much.
My pleasure, thank you.
Now, that's all we have time for today's episode of Deep Dive. Stay tuned to New 6 World.